Alright guys, here is the PW80 clutch cover that has been stripped of its paint, cleaned off, and polished with mother's polish. And I've got to say, I am really digging that look. Makes it look a little more modern. It matches the engine cases right here. As you guys can see, I cleaned up the engine cases themselves as well. And then it also matches the silver ignition cover that we have on the other side. So not only is this engine going to be getting a big performance increase with the cylinder coming in from JAX Industries, it is also going to be looking a lot more modern, and that'll be a lot more suited to the power it'll be pushing out. Right here in my hands, I am holding the JAX Industries cylinder that has been ported and polished for this specific setup for this Yamaha PW80, accommodating the KX65 Pro Circuit work system as well as the 24mm carburetor that we are going to be running. But notice that we are still running the stock 80cc bore. As you guys can see, it is hooked up and bolts right onto the cases. There's no further work necessary. This thing is reported to make around 13 horsepower to the rear, 14 on a good day. So let's see exactly what this thing does. Here we got the seat removed, Owens peeking out. Always love it to see. Ethan ripping it off. Stipple remover. Oh yeah. All right, and here's a rough mock-up. We have not stapled this thing down. We're just laying it across the bare foam. But it does indeed look good, and we do have a strap sent to us personally by Thrill Seekers. Shout out to them. We are able to replace the little grab handle that comes from stock, so we're going to trim this little highlighter strap. Matches the ribs, as you guys can see, which kind of goes with our little highlighter theme that we already have going. So we're going to trim this thing down to size, poke the little holes, and get this thing stapled down. So as you guys can see, last time we left off the video with needing a throttle cable. So we got that throttle cable installed into our throttle housing. And we also got some lock-on grips. But we also got a lot more things going on this PW80, as you guys can see. So as we left off, we do have the Owens in the rear. We have that linkage set up right here using the KX65 lowering link as well as the reinforcement braces it comes with. So that gives us a nice stiff mount right here in the rear, giving us the mounting points we needed as the clearance soft fit. We also have the oversized pegs right here on both sides to accommodate for the bigger riders that are going to be on this, as well as we have the front end with the working KX65 front brake and all the goodies right here on the floor. Here we got the 24mm PWK carb flat slide, the entire Pro Circuit system for this PW80 cut and welded from a KX65, 13-tooth front sprocket, ignition, shifter, and that engine is currently on the workbench. What for? Here we got an oil seal kit to help seal this engine up a little bit. Have a couple little leaks that still need to be sorted out. But we also got 2 OEM clutch springs to be adding into the 4-spring clutch that is featured in this Yamaha PW80. From stock, these clutches are designed to be 6-spring clutches, but from OEM factory, they only put 4 as a natural limiter for the PW80, giving your child or the small person that is meant to be riding this bike, you know, the nice and mellow power band that PW80s are known for. But adding in these 2 clutches, will be getting a nice responsive clutch, as well as removing a lot of the balls, as you may well know already. All right, got all the case bolts taken off right here. Got the random hex head too. But I used them out. Let's get into this clutch. Alright, so after removing the circlips on top of this top clutch plate, we are exposed to our 6 clutch springs that come from stock. But now we are going to be adding in our 2 new clutch springs, making this a 8 clutch spring clutch. So let's get to doing that, and that'll be our first of 3 mods to this PW80 clutch. And here we have the clutch top with the springs installed. As you guys can see, all 8 are in there. Here we have the circlips back in on both sides of the clutch topper. having all 8 springs installed. Now we're going to be removing the clutch fibers and the plates. We're going to be getting to the little ball weights underneath there, and we're going to be adjusting the weight distribution. So let's do that. All right, well, upon taking all these clutch discs and fibers off, we discovered a little bit of an issue. So right here, as you guys can see, are some teeth from a clutch plate. Look at what happened here. This was a brand new clutch, not really too sure what happened, but when we did open up this clutch, one of these balls was moved over a little bit, unevening the weight of the rotational mass, possibly causing too much pressure on the bottom plate, hence why it broke. So we're gonna go ahead and get a new clutch ordered ASAP, but we'll still be doing the rest of the spacing. And yeah, I guess this engine's going to be out of the bike a little longer than we thought. So yeah, be back whenever we get this clutch. So despite this clutch disc being broken, I did go ahead and make a run to Ace Hardware, and we got some washers that we're going to be using inside of our clutch basket to continue modding this clutch. So as you guys can see right here, I have 4 small lock washers that you are going to be installing right where these pink springs on the clutch are supposed to be. Mine aren't too pink anymore, but right underneath these springs at the very bottom is where we're going to be installing them. Let me go ahead and do that. Get you guys a visual. As you guys saw in that clip, make sure that washer goes all the way to the bottom of the clutch pack, not in between one of these clutch fibers, all right? So obviously we're still waiting on some clutch discs, so we can't really go ahead and install this clutch just yet. But I do have some other bolts that we're going to be installing. Here I have 4 10mm hex head bolts, and we are going to be using these to replace with the PW80 reed cage to replace the Phillips head bolts that it comes with from stock. And this is going to be so we can open up the reed cage with the engine still inside the bike and be able to tighten down and just kind of get a grasp on these bolts a little more than we would be able to with the Phillips. So let's go ahead and replace those. We're also really going to be doing this just so we can have the reeds accessible from inside the bike, more or less just because I'm going to be modifying these in the future and the parts haven't gotten here just yet, but I don't want to be dropping the engine just to get to the reeds, so we're going to be replacing those bolts. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so we did go ahead and get those bolts installed to the reed cage. So now we are still waiting on the clutch discs. They're apparently out for delivery today. But before they come in, we're still going to be having to take off our flywheel and our stator so we can install the crank seal that goes onto this side, as well as any other oil seals that we see fit. And then really make sure that this whole engine is just sealed up. We don't want any oil leaking out. We went ahead and replaced that seal right there, got it all bolted back up, and now we're going to be removing the top end and the cylinder to be sealing it up all along here with some extra gasket maker just in case of any leaks. Pretty clean head right here, nice and gold. Here we have the top of the piston, got a little bit of that gold showing as well as that carbon buildup. Here we have the cylinder, as you guys can see. I'm not trying to take it all the way off. We're just going to be putting some gasket maker along the edges right here of the case. But here we have the exhaust port. Look at that, guys. All right, so we are back. Clutch discs just came in, so we're going to be swapping these right into our old clutch basket because of the explosive clutch little system that we had going last time. But we also just got, unexpectedly today, our carbon fiber reeds. So we're going to be taking our reed cage off one more time, installing those, and then also doing another bonded reed cage that you guys may not know about. So let's get to doing the clutch and then we'll get to doing the reeds. Fast forward here, the clutch cover is back on. Clutch is installed. Got all that gasket maker going along in there, making sure this thing is nice and tidied up. So we're gonna go ahead and get these carbon fiber reeds installed. Shout out to these guys. So let's go ahead and get these reeds opened up and we'll do the mod I'm telling you about. Here we have our intake piece off right there. We're gonna go ahead and remove our reeds as so. There we have the stalkers. As you guys can see, they're little metal reeds. These are still pretty good, but for these high RPMs that we're going to be running in this thing, as well as to complement the PWK 24mm flat slide carburetor, it's going to be a lot crisper in its response and maybe even give us a little bit better performance at the top end. But we're also going to be removing these gold guards, as you guys can see there. Just let these reeds free flow. So let me show you guys how that looks. There you guys have it, all 3 screws taken out. So these should just plop right off like so. So here's the stock restrictor that we are going to be leaving off upon installation of the carbon fiber reeds. And here are the stock reeds, which to my knowledge have never been removed before. So yeah, let's get to the carbon fibers. Got the old compared to the new. I think there's a clear difference here, boys. Just lining it up. All right, guys, we are back here with the reeds. Here are the stock reeds and the stock reed stoppers. And as you guys can see, we have this thing installed with a custom metal piece right here, as well as our carbon fiber reeds. We got those reeds back in and installed, as well as the rest of this engine. It's all back into the bike. Carburetor's hooked up, currently jetted to what I think is pretty close to what we're going to be doing. But man, just look at that PW80, man. Ain't seen a cleaner one or more built. Let's get a sound check. Here she is, boys. Brought her out to a little open area. Yeah, as you guys can hear, boys, she rips. Oh my god. Wheelie's too good, boys. This thing hooks up, man. Alright guys, well there was the riding footage of the Yamaha PW80 with all the mods that we've got. And just to remind you guys, we've got the port that we've got from JAX Industries specific to this setup, according to this Pro Circuit pipe off a KX65. That is the Pro Circuit factory works pipe. And we also got the 24 millimeter PWK carburetor flat slide, as long as the Owens rear shock that we're rocking in the back. All this thing, don't worry guys, is modified. Don't worry, we're not just running an OEM airbox. Just wanted to have it there just so we have a somewhat of a front fender guarding our engine up in there. But yeah, just look at this thing, man. It sounds amazing. And as you guys can tell, this thing has a real power band, unlike a stock PW80. So in part 3 of this build series, maybe we'll have some more GoPro footage, but not of just me ripping it in dirt lots. We're going to be taking it out to a local place, maybe a couple tracks with a couple of other pit bikes. Hopefully we'll have the BW80 ready and my brother's TTR 125. So hope you guys enjoyed this part 2 of building this Yamaha PW80. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one.